What's poppin', y'all? In this video, I want to talk about something that really hits me in my soul, which is the lack of talk, excitement, conversation, which is talk again, just in general, the lack of care in the world for the fact that Meek Mill and Rick Ross are back together. I pause on that back together. But I'm very passionate about this because this is not I would say this is my childhood. I mean, these guys, there's a whole storyline, right? So Meek Mill, for those that don't know, Meek Mill is signed to MMG, Maybach Music Group, which is, I was about to say Wale. Wale was signed to Maybach Music Group too, but he's signed to Rick Ross. Rick Ross started that label. Rick Ross and Meek Mill had a bunch of tracks in the early 2010s. We're talking tracks like I'm a Boss, Meek Mill, Rick Ross is featured on that. Tupac Back, Ambition, that was Wale. Wale was on there too. What's another song? They had that Double XL freestyle. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. I think it was 2014 or 2015. I think it was Ice Cream freestyle. They had that together. Man, they had that Off the Corner song. So sophisticated. They had so many bangers together. I mean, it was the whole MMG at the time, but Meek Mill and Rose in particular. And y'all know I mess with Ross heavy on this side. No pun intended, and pause on that. But these guys, everything was going smooth, right? Meek Mill was doing numbers. Ross was doing numbers. Meek Mill was making Ross a lot of money. Meek Mill goes through some legal trouble. You know, he comes back, shakes it off. He drops championships. We see Rick Ross on championships. So we can assume things were cool. But then slight jabs started getting thrown at Rick Ross. Things weren't so good. Funny enough, always when people go to Roc Nation, things don't go so well. Roc Nation helped out Meek Mill a lot when it came to getting him out of jail, and he was with them for management. So he wanted to get out of his deal. It's with Atlantic, too. So they're distributed through Atlantic, but he's signed to Rick Ross's record label. A lot of stuff works this way. Like if an artist has a record label, they're usually distributing through someone else. So for example, Travis Scott, he has Cactus Jack, but Cactus Jack doesn't have a specific distribution partnership with anybody. So it depends on who they sign. So Don Toliver is with Atlantic and Cactus Jack. But Sheck West at the time was with Good Music, which he's no longer with since that doesn't really exist anymore. But he's with Interscope. If I recall correctly, I'm almost 100% certain he's Interscope. So he's Cactus Jack, Interscope. So those are two different distributors. Certain distributors that work with labels. For example, what was the one that Migos were on? QC. Yeah, QC. So QC had a deal with Motown at a point. I think it was with not Columbia. It's the other one that starts with the C. Capitol. So they had it with Motown at one point. So every artist that was on there was Motown. So that's just to give you guys sum it up for you guys. So I think he was having an issue with Atlantic, not necessarily with Rick Ross, but there was a strain in their relationship. We didn't see any music from them. We didn't see them kicking it together. We didn't see them do anything together. And we kind of saw some shots being thrown back and forth. Well, Ross looks like he's just living the life. But Meek Mill was visibly upset with the situation. He's like, man, I ain't make no money from my music. 10 years I've been doing this. I haven't seen a penny from this in who knows how long. I was down to my last million after I got out of prison or jail. I don't think he actually went to prison during that time. And all of this stuff. Granted, Meek Mill, a lot of his biggest hits or what moved the needle the most were mixtapes that he couldn't even make money off of. And streaming wasn't really as much of a thing when he was first popping off. But granted, he did generate a lot of money. So I could understand his frustration. But these guys, they're both lyrical, like street rap. Meek Mill more street rap than Rick Ross. Rick Ross is just, lyrically speaking, Rick Ross is a level above Meek Mill. He's a level above most rappers in the game. Do not try and disrespect Rick Ross, say he's not lyrical. Please do not do that. So these guys, they link back up. They drop a song, Shaq and Kobe, initially, like a couple weeks ago. Fire track. I mean, they're just spitting bars throughout this whole thing. And I didn't even know about it until like a homie hit me up. He's like, yo, you check out this new Meek Mill and Rick Ross. This is some fire. I was like, wait, what? Meek Mill and Rick Ross got back together? This is why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I myself didn't know. And I mess with Meek Mill and Rick Ross, musically speaking. Whatever Meek Mill does on Twitter, social media, whatever, I completely decide to tune that out. I'm focused on the music. Unless he does something outrageous, like more outrageous than he already has, then I'm not stopping listening to his music. And when I say outrageous, it's got to be like some Dwight Howard stuff. Then I would stop listening to his music. So they get back together. I feel like nobody's talking about it. I mean, the thing is doing views on YouTube, but the music video is doing views. However, Atlantic is involved, so we don't know how many of those views are real. Rick Ross, he's a heavyweight, but I don't think there's enough attention. Maybe it's the older crowd that's watching this, and I kind of fall in between, like the young bucks that don't even care or even know that this was going on, which you need to care and you need to know, okay? Listen to this track right now, Shaq and Kobe. Go do it. That's your homework assignment for today. Don't even subscribe today. Save your subscription for the next video. Hold that sub and listen to Shaq and Kobe. We got to support the greats. And man, it's hard for me to describe if you didn't grow up in this era and was paying attention to hip-hop in this era, but Meek Mill, Rick Ross, Wale, just Maybach music as a whole, these guys were era-defining. A lot of these tracks were era-defining. So I just remember it so fondly. And then for them to come back, get back together, it's like a reunion, and they're dropping heat. Next track they dropped. This was just a couple of days ago. It's Lyrical Easy. Music video, another good song. And they're apparently supposed to be dropping a project, which I didn't even know about either. It's supposed to come out November 10th. Too Good to Be True, the album. I'm not going to lie. This feels too good to be true. However, I will say this, and we're going to take a turn here. I really hope this isn't a long album. Now, Meek Mill, Rick Ross, y'all know I mess with you guys. Music, heavy. However, I don't mess with you enough to want to hear 15 tracks of Rick Ross and Meek Mill. Now, if we're dropping 7 to 10, maybe 11, that's the sweet spot. Because even up until now, I don't think just them two have dropped 15 songs together. It's probably like 9 to 10, if I can recall. Just them two, excluding anybody else, I think it's probably, I don't think it's more than 6. So if y'all are giving us this much, it's been too long. It should have been maybe in 2013 or 14 that we got this album. That would have been a really, really good time to get this. So with this album, like 7 to 11 tracks will be good. Will I be listening to it? Absolutely. Regardless of even if it's 20 tracks, I'm going to listen to it. It's not what I want, but this isn't about what I want, right? Like beggars can't be choosers. Not that I even thought about asking for this album. It was just completely out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, so they're dropping an album November 10th. Nobody's talking about this. So this is one of those things where I say, and people have been, I wouldn't say critical. Yes, I would say critical. People have been critical about Drake and other people in the rap game, saying stuff like, yo, these guys are doing other media outlets that aren't hip-hop journalists or interviewers. And I agree with that take. And I also understand the perspective of the artist. But we got to show some love and support the guys that are doing it. So, for example, like the Rick Ross and Meek Mill. If outlets aren't talking about this album and hyping it up, then why should they even do an interview with these outlets that aren't even like paying attention to some guys that cemented themselves? These aren't new guys. They're not superstars either. Maybe at one point Meek Mill was on the cusp of being a superstar, but these guys are solid, incredible rappers. They've dropped great music. They've been in the game both over a decade, relevant in the game too. Don't get it twisted. Meek Mill did not fall off. His audience is just not as loud on social media. If he goes on tour, people is pulling up. Now, how many people are pulling up, that's a different story. But yeah, I actually am really looking forward to this, and I was upset that this didn't reach me. Now, people will say, well, you're not following these guys on social media. Listen, man. Am I going to follow Meek Mill on social media? Why would I do that? I'm doing Meek Mill a favor by not following him on social media because it would taint the image that I have of Meek Mill and the respect level that I have for Meek Mill based on his music. So that's why I don't follow Meek Mill on social media. Now, when it comes to Rick Ross, respectfully, I'm not trying to see 500 videos a day. Like, if I follow Rick Ross, my whole feed is going to be Rick Ross, and I'm not trying to see him talk about his Bisons or put his whatever liquor brand in front of me unless he's paying me. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't take a liquor sponsorship. Yeah, I don't want to see his liquor brand in front of me and pretty much things that have nothing to do with music. So I got to comb through 99 posts to maybe see the one post where he's talking about music. So that's why I didn't see it. But I was kind of frustrated. I felt like some other people would put it in front of my eyes. But yeah, so that's why I'm putting it in front of your guys' eyes. And I just wanted to share this. Let me know, what is your guys' favorite Meek Mill and Ross track? And did you know that this was going to drop? If you knew that this was going to drop, I'm kind of upset at you for not letting me know in the DM. You could DM me at helloyassine. I usually, at least, I've seen your DM. That's for sure. Now, I can't reply to them. Also, people that have DM'd me like a year ago twice, like you should DM someone again to pop it back up to the top. Now, don't spam somebody, but yeah. Like there's been people that have DM'd me like for a year and a half, and then I just randomly reply one day. That's not an incentive to keep messaging me though. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter at TheMindOfHY, Instagram at helloyassine. Thank you for watching. Peace.